Hi, I am Natalie Bullen, and I am so thankful that Sarah hit record because we are both going to get 100 emails asking for this recording. And if we don't have it, there will be a revolt. I go by Nat. I think I've changed that pretty much everywhere now. Fun fact, I wanted to legally change my name to Nat, and my mom said, don't you dare. I own
We can't make
unapologetic.
Annie upset.
I don't do anything that makes my mom upset. I run Unapologetic Wealth. I'm a sales consultant and I'm also a money and wealth coach on the side when I get people who are interested in that. So thank you all for being here. I am super lazy. I'm akin to Garfield the cat. I like to do things the easiest, simplest, most profitable way possible. I believe in Occam's razor. The simplest path is probably the one you should take. I'm excited about today because I am anti-complex Rube Goldberg funnel. I also don't think you have to lie to people to get them to want to pay you. And I think that if you set your offers up in such a way that it will be pretty impossible for people to not want to buy them. So I'm really excited. Sarah Moon is someone I have paid thousands of dollars to really happily and have worked with personally and have grown a really great friendship. So I'll pass it over to Sarah.
I'm Sarah Moon. I am a marketing consultant and I work with primarily entrepreneurs and also some medium-sized organizations to help them build these simple marketing strategies that Natalie talks about. I'm also anti-complex. I think that one of the worst things that those of us who are in charge of our own businesses do, and also leaders of smaller organizations and companies do, is build things that are way too complicated for what our goals are. And we don't need to have really convoluted, long journeys that get in people's way. I am at this point I also do a lot of advising on what I call post keyword SEO, which is basically helping people get found in lots of different search engines because there are 8 million of them at this point, depending on the day. And it's been really fun because what I'm discovering is that I had a little bit of prescient thinking because a lot of the ways I've always taught people how to get found organically is now what people are saying, oh my goodness, we need to start doing XYZ. And I'm like, I've been doing that for 10 years, people. I've been telling you. So it's not to pat myself on the back, but I'm a little proud of that. I also have a really sweet dog who is asleep next to me. He's had a tummy ache, so I couldn't bear to kick him out of the office while he's had a tummy ache. So apologies in advance if he barks.
I just want to state that Sarah Moon's dog is living a better life than I am.
He's living a better life than I am.
Just here we go again. Well fed, gold weight, shiny hair every
Yeah,
time, man.
looking good. Yeah, I know.
Wow. But you know what? When I lived at home with my mom, I got that kind of treatment.
Yeah,
My mom just
catered
lavished.
meals. Yeah.
Yeah, my mom just lavished me with attention. I definitely was like the best raised child in Mobile. Like when I go home, it's like a bed and breakfast. I'm so excited about Mother's Day.
So you're
So
going over
excited.
Mother's Day so your mom can take care of you.
Yes, absolutely. My mom tucks me in and reads me a bedtime story if I ask, baby. I get to revert back to 8 years old. Okay. She thinks I'm a genius. She lavishes me with attention about my business. She thinks all of my ideas are clever. You know what? They come up with like AI hallucination. But it's like Annie.
I go to my mom's house and her refrigerator looks like what a frat boy would have in his, those little short fridges that they
Yeah.
have in
Yeah.
their dorms. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's my mom's house. I got some cheese.
Wow. Okay. No, my mom is real Southern, real Black, everything in the house all the time. My mom can whip up homemade cornbread, pot roast, mashed potatoes, collard
Yeah.
greens, mac and cheese from scratch, apple pie, fancy.
No, my mom comes
Just
to my
yeah,
house to scrounge leftovers.
that could be a cultural thing.
Oh no,
I-
it's a Sandra thing.
you know what? Pull up the slides.
Yeah.
Done. I have a story why you do that. Part of why I'm
Right.
really big on simple. For you all who don't know, I used to be a licensed financial advisor. which becomes more and more impressive to me the older I get, as I realize that only, I think, 12% of financial advisors in America are Black people, and that 85% of those 12% are men, and that of the 12% of Black people who are financial advisors, more than half of them are over age 55. So being securities licensed at 30
Wow, I have
before,
actually never heard you share that stat before.
yeah, financial advising has a huge age problem because almost every financial advisor in the country is over age 55. And it's not that they aren't doing a good job. It's just that there's not a height, there's not a down,
Well,
there's
we're going
not
to have a
really
crisis where people don't have anywhere to turn to get good
yeah,
financial advice.
that crisis is 7 to 10 years from now. It's to the point where firms will pay you if you are a woman or a person of color to get securities license, to be a financial advisor, to be a financial planner, to be a certified chartered financial analyst. You really don't even have to pay for the
Seems
test.
like a
You
great
get a
career opportunity for someone who's
yeah,
interested
it's a
in
huge.
these.
If you are a Black woman and you want to get into something for free, get you a job at a financial institution, and baby, any certification that exists, the firm will pay. You don't have to pay to sit for the CFP test. You can just apply for a scholarship, and they will waive it 100%.
Dang,
But
that's actually really interesting.
yeah, because it's the industry's dying. It's really bad. So anyway, I was sitting in a meeting and Wells Fargo came up with this strategy. And they're like, great news. Every Monday, we're going to have a meeting. Now, it was a corporate meeting person. Believe it or not, I liked corporate and I knew how to game my boss. So I knew how to make my boss's job easier so that he would never fire me, even though I'm not off. Anyway, so every Monday we had this meeting, and the meeting was a pipeline review. And we had to talk about what we had in our pipeline that we thought would close. So what were the clients that we thought would be able to move over? Now, in financial services, you can't close a deal like today because you've got to get people to sign paperwork, and then you've got to move money from wherever their money is. So you've got to fill out a form, send it over to Charles Schwab, and Schwab has to move it. It takes several days. It's one of those things, ACH, how it has to settle. So I could think the deal was going to close, but I didn't know the deal was going to close until the money actually got moved, which could be weeks from now. They wanted us to talk about something complex. So every week I had to give them at least 2 complex client scenarios. I don't know what complex means in this instance, because what difference does it make what's complex about moving money? Hey, I'm Natalie. Hey, I'm Natalie. Hey, Natalie, where do you work? I work at IBM. Just retailer, and I'm 65. Great. Do you want to open an IRA? Yes. Great. Will you sign this paperwork? Yes. Great. The money will be here Friday. Shit. What's complex about that? I could never figure out how I was going to make this sound complicated. So one week I showed up and told the truth. I told them exactly what I just told you. And they were like, what's complex about that? And I was like, nothing. But we closed the deal. The money's moving. We're getting a commission. They're like, that's not good enough. So I started a crusade of making shit up. Every single Monday, I got a little bit more outlandish. I just created more and more ridiculous things. I'd make them rock climbers, underwater welders. I'd make some of the children disabled and some of the children superheroic. I just threw the kitchen sink into people's scenarios until eventually one day my boss's boss was like, you're making all of these up, aren't you? And I was like, absolutely. But I hit the quota, so who cares? It's a wonder that they let me keep that job. I say this to say it's outrageous that a company made one of their KPIs how complex the client scenario was, not how much money I moved, not how satisfied the client was with my customer service, not how fast I could move the money, not how many meetings I could get it done, not the performance of their portfolio. I had clients who were getting 18 and 20 and 22% returns because of my strategy in the stock market. The average return was like 8%, like crushing it. None of that mattered. Only thing that mattered was how difficult people's lives were before I met them. And so I promised myself when I went into business that I was never going to create a ridiculous KPI, something that didn't move the needle at all, just to make it seem like I was doing something fancy. It doesn't have to be fancy for you to be really rich. You can pay yourself 6 figures with a really simple, straightforward, common sense business. And I feel like so many of us make things complex because that's the corporate experience we came from. You can say, I appreciate my corporate experience. I appreciate college and my degree. And I am not going to create a business that replicates the nonsense that I have been through, because a lot of it's traumatic. That's my story.
I actually think, I know this isn't necessarily the subject of this, but I actually think that's something that experience in corporate or larger organizations really screws us up about how you go from even existing to creating interest to closing a sale. I really do, because there's all this weird stuff that's going on. There's metrics being measured that actually say nothing. That was my experience in nonprofits and government and private organizations. There were metrics that were tracked. I was like, literally, why are we tracking this? And it's like, it's an important measure. And but it's actually not. It's actually literally not an important measure, but for some reason it's something we have to review every week. And I do think that really gets your head all jumbled when you have that experience where you almost go and want to put friction in your process. So,
Yeah, I'm just not a fan. I also feel like a lot of us have been taught to self-sabotage. So
mhm.
by creating all this friction, it makes it impossible to win. And I have a winner identity. When I lose, I'm confused. When things don't work, I am flummoxed. I will admit it. I'm one of those people that's just, I'm me. This should work out for no other reason than because I'm me. And I know that's ridiculous, but I'm delusional. And that's just how I've always felt. So I like to isolate variables to figure out where I went wrong. That's really hard to do when you've collected too many variables.
That's actually a really good point too.
Really
And
hard to do. So for me, I have to know where I went wrong. I can't go to sleep. I'm that person who debriefs for 2 weeks. I have to pinpoint the exact moment that the ads didn't work, that the sentence on the sales page that repelled people. I'm that person. And you cannot do that when you have too many variables. It's impossible. And so then you spin your wheels and you change the wrong things. And my third favorite cartoon is Scooby Doo. And Scooby Doo is famous for these Rube Goldberg traps, right? All the traps that Freddy uses to catch the fake villains, that's what they're called. Rube Goldberg, which was the name of this cartoonist who actually started drawing them. And if Freddy's trap doesn't work, even he doesn't know why it didn't work because there's 50 components to it. So if I can have a funnel that's 3 pieces, that's great because it's pretty easy to figure out which one of the 3 pieces didn't work. If I have 30 pieces, I'm screwed. So I like to get an MVP up, like the membership I'm launching hopefully in June. And if the launch doesn't
it's gonna
work,
be
we'll
so
be able
good.
to, it's gonna be great, but we'll know where it went wrong because we're not launching with affiliates and with an A and B test. And we're gonna wait and do all of that later after we have locked in what works.
I was literally just talking to someone today about how they're spinning off part of their business
Like what I know.
into its own, like a separate entity, because they're a licensed person, and that gets really messy. And and what was I saying? Oh, and we were talking about, okay, she has this vision for a community type thing, but it's like she doesn't have enough data right now to even add that level of complexity. And so we're starting with simple one-to-one, very simple, and then getting enough data to be able to figure out exactly what this community needs so she can launch that in a year. And yeah, keeping it simple. Yeah, and I know Molly put in the chat, that's how she launched Fern CRM, keeping it simple. And I've watched you evolve that over the last, I don't know, year or what have you. So I put up a quote. I told Natalie I was going to make a slide with this quote. Natalie, would you like to read it and attribute it to yourself? She thinks I'm joking when I say things and then I do the things.
Okay. The only difference between having a job and being in business for yourself is closing your own leads. Meaning, if you only want to do the work part, but you don't want to do the marketing and sales part, it's a great idea to get a job where you can just do the work part. But as soon as you go into business for yourself, you've got to do the marketing and sales part. And I'm actually writing a core tenant essay, which Sarah will be so proud of because I have been attempting to do this for 3.5 years. But in my core tenant essay, it talks about how the money and the mission are actually on the same side of the table. And that if you really love the work you do and the people you serve and you want to do more good in the world, you actually need to be financially well resourced. And being financially resourced is on the same side of the table with doing great work. They're not separate. It's not, oh, I love my business, but I hate marketing and sales. oh, I would do so much more business if I didn't have to market and sell. Like when you put marketing and sales on the other side of the table as the enemy, the thing that's stopping you from doing the great in the world that you want to do, not only is it delusional, it also doesn't help. There's so much big I want to do in the world. I can't do it if I'm poor. I wish I could, but I can't. So being ready to go out there and get your own leads and convert them and qualify them, it's actually a power move. And if you're willing to do it, it puts you ahead of maybe 90% of people who are in business. So few people have locked on to the idea that by purposely attracting the right clients into their business, that they are actually making the change in the world that they want. This is why when I go on rants, when people go online talking about billionaires and they write these long think pieces, they have 2,000 words to talk about billionaires, but they don't have 2,000 words to write a compelling sales page to sell their own offer. Right. And it's like billionaires don't care about you. They're already rich. You're middle class, they're rich. They don't care. I'm not saying that they shouldn't care or that things shouldn't be different, but if we want to impact, if we want to make change, we have to have resources, time, energy, and money. It's the only way that things are going to happen. I know you didn't mean for me to get on a soapbox.
No,
I feel
I
really
told
strongly
you.
about this.
I told you I was going to put this on a slide because I think it's really important. And I think that's something that when people get sold the dream of going out on your own, they talk about you get to choose your own clients, you get to you do all these things that are so great, and yet they don't talk about how, and also you get to talk about your thing all the time, and you get to offer your thing to people who can benefit from it. They never, that part's not really talked about, right? In all the sort of entrepreneur culture stuff. And so folks go out on their own and they are shocked at how much of their time they have to spend doing marketing and sales. And it's a skill that you need to cultivate, right?
Yeah. Like anything else. Like I don't, maybe because I've always had to learn at things. Like I have a few natural skills, none of which I have monetized. So pretty much everything I've ever sold, I had to learn. I wasn't born a financial advisor. I had to read really dry financial material for years and sit for tests and study. It wasn't, I didn't wake up and be like, oh yeah, I totally understand what options are. That didn't happen to me. So I guess because everything I've ever done took a lot of effort, I felt like sales was just another of those skills. I think most people though have a gift. There's something that comes really easily to them that they haven't had to work at really hard. And maybe that's why sales feels really sticky because it's the first thing that they've had to actually practice at. I've had to work at everything. But what if you haven't?
Yeah. I had to learn sales, and you and I have had many conversations because that was not a natural skill for me. And I was very lucky that one of my first jobs was in fundraising. And when you work for United Way, you have one really important freaking metric, and that is, are people giving you money?
Fundraising is great. If I ever hire a salesperson for UW, it is required that they will have done fundraising.
So you have to learn to look people in the eye and say,
ask them for
so
money. And
how much are you going to be supporting our organization with this year? What will your monthly contribution be?
most nonprofits are terrible at that.
Yeah.
I give money to the only nonprofit that I give money to that is good at sales is Wikimedia.
Yeah. They actually
Wikimedia
are
is
really good.
great. When you visit the site, they ask, they email you and ask, they ask you to increase. So I have a monthly contribution. They ask me, did I want to support them in my will? I put them in my will. So
Because they
Wikimedia,
asked, right?
because they ask, Wikimedia is on it. Whoever is doing their sales is the bomb. I can't say that for any other. I give money to United Negro College Fund. They've never asked me for more ongoing money ever. They send one mailer a year in December asking me for money. They put it in the mail, which is bad because I don't open my mail for 30 to 60 days. I'm just terrible
It
about
goes in a
opening
little
mail.
file in a special place in my house and then eventually gets
Yeah.
sorted.
And then, yeah, it's really bad. I had somebody send me a cup of soup one time when I was sick, and I opened it 3 months later. And I was like, baby, when you mail me things, you got to tell me you are mailing me something perishable because we just don't open mail here every day. That's
I
just
was
not,
nervous. I mailed you something recently and I was like, do I ruin the surprise?
but it wasn't perishable. You mailed me a painting.
I know, but I
So
still was like, I know you're like me with the mail.
fair.
So,
You made it. I opened it. But if you listen, if you're on this call right now, if you mail me something perishable, flowers, fruit, food, tell me. At least it's not, hey, just look out in the mail for something in a week. Because if you don't, I had somebody send me 6 boxes of Girl Scout cookies and I didn't open it for 4 months. I was like, why didn't you tell me? She was like, mailed it when you made that post on Facebook. How would I know what you did? It's just, I'm bad about opening the mail, and Dave is just, he could not care less. So I say that to say you have to be aware of your idiosyncrasies, which we probably talk about this in here, like how to build maybe sales and marketing around your personality. I don't advise most people to do what I do because who is me? But they
you
do
can,
something.
you can do something. And one of the things I wanted to point out, and I think this is needs to be put a fine point on it. When I talk to people, and I know Natalie, you and I have had the same experience with clients, and this is actually not a criticism, but a lot of folks, they believe in their offer, they love what they do. So to them, it's very logical that they maybe make a post or send one email or maybe have a website that gets 3 visitors a day that someone will see it and be like, duh, I want to buy this. And unfortunately, that's not really the way things go, especially in 2026. Everyone I talk to is seeing longer sales cycles. And are you seeing this as well? And just more weirdness in more questions people have, more just like little bits
I
of,
don't think it has anything to do with us. I'm
I don't
on
think
the
it does
opposite
either.
side. I'm on the opposite side of the trust recession conversation.
Mhm.
I think that people have become more self-aware and honest about what they are willing to do, how much time they are willing to invest, how much money they are actually able to spend, and they are slowing down to ask more questions for their own benefit, not because they automatically think you're a scammer.
No, they're
I'm
just,
getting people asking more intelligent questions like, what all things does your audit include? Does that mean you're going to listen to 10 episodes of my podcast? Does that mean you're going to watch my YouTube videos? Does that mean you're going to dump it all in AI? What does that mean? I'm getting people asking more of logistics. When can we start? How many weeks
process.
would it
This is
take?
what I found is
What is your process, right? I'm
process
getting,
questions are really, and that's something I've been advising people to do, is like getting ahead of those process
yeah,
questions.
I'm updating my FAQs as we speak, getting more detail in my sales pages because that's what people really want to know is, will your system work for me? Because I got in the coaching boom and made the mistake a lot of people made and bought programs from people who do business in a way that I absolutely would not want to do business. And you find out after you get in the program that these people are bro marketers, or they do weekly webinars that take $500 a week in ads to make work, right? Something that's unpalatable to you. And
Mhm.
unlike most people online, I will actually refund you if we decide that this is a bad fit. Most
Same.
people don't give a damn what it is. They don't care if it's good fit, bad fit, whatever. You sign the contract, you paid the money. I don't care what happens after that, right? I would rather not refund you. I'd rather not have to offboard you prematurely. I'd rather not. I tend to do a better job at screening people, and they tend to do a good job of screening me back. It's also why I feel like we need to do more visual. I like to go live on Facebook. I like having a podcast. I want people to get my POV. I think that's my hot take. The number one thing missing from most people's marketing is their unique point of view.
Yep.
There's no
And
point of view that happens in people's content anymore. It's just, oh, did you see the news? They're distracting you for something. I'm like, I don't care. How can you help me? Or they're like, hey, your taxes are due on April the 15th. I know that. Every accountant knows that. What's different about how you think? That's what sets you apart these days, especially with an intelligent buyer. And I find that is nowhere. You can read 50 posts from somebody and still not truly understand how they think and how they would apply that to the problems that they solve in your business.
I want to add to that too, is that so when I talk about that, I talk about this concept of unique insights. And
Mhm.
what's really interesting to me is that there's a lot of different data points that support, Natalie, exactly what you're saying, is that so people who are making buying decisions are actively looking for fresh perspectives, new ways of doing things, faster paths from point A to point B, different models. Because they aren't looking for a service provider or a consultant or a coach because they want to do the same thing they've done in the past. That is not why people are buying things these days.
Good point.
Edelman
So
have a really
help people out.
Yeah.
How can people determine what their perspective is? Because the number one question we're going to get is, but now let them know what my unique perspective is.
I have two ways I tell people to do it. So
Right?
one is I recommend that you sit down and I want you to get a pen or pencil. I'm not going to be too dogmatic and paper. And I'm saying this for a reason because there are certain, this is me being a real nerd, there's certain neuro pathways that activate when we write things down that help us actually understand what we are processing better. And that physical act is different than the act of typing. So that's why I make people do it on paper. Write down all of the things that you can do that no one else can do. You do it a different way than anyone else. You have a different perspective than anyone else. I have a client who's a data scientist, and she was telling me a couple days ago that because we were having this exact conversation, and she said, I don't make people go get new data when I work with them. I take what they have because actually we can usually we can find the information that will get us to our goals within what they have. I help them discern what they have, what they can do with what they have. And maybe if there's gaps they need to fill, we can address that in the future.
That's really attractive.
So that, I mean, it cuts costs because they
That's
don't have.
really
Mhm.
attractive.
It's
I'll
very
never
attractive.
I'll never forget the coaching program that I got into that had a 18-page onboarding form.
That would break my brain.
And something has you over a barrel because once you pay 5 figures and you're early in business and you're already freaked out about the size of this investment, you're going to do whatever they tell you. And she thought it was clever. She would say, we learn everything about you except the color of your underwear. It was like a flex to her that we gather all this data. And my onboarding form is 12 questions, and one of them is your name, one of them is your phone number, one of them is your address, and one of them is your time zone.
Right.
And yeah, it's so easy to fill out.
And so my client, I was just telling me this, I was like, yeah, no one else really does that because they really want to they have their way of collecting data and they really want it to fit in their models they've already
That's why I say
developed.
it's the data. She wants to
And
be able
she
to
was
come back
like,
and
she's
credit
like,
for the
honestly,
work.
that's just getting the analysis done slower. And I was like, you need to put that everywhere because
Everywhere.
that is, again, that unique perspective and explain that over. Really? I was like, yes, that's the kind of stuff that comes out. The other thing, in addition to what is it, your unique angle, your thing you really feel strongly about, I would also add in, if you have not done a really serious company values assessment, like really identified what your company values are, what do you stand for, what do you stand against? And again, I have a method. It's real fancy. Again, we get our tools, our pen or pencil, our paper, take it somewhere comfy, have a nice coffee, a tea, whatever, sparkling water. On one side of the paper, write a giant list of what you stand for. What are your feet down? What are the things you really believe, really stand for? Some of them may be insignificant to you, obviously, but they're still important. On the other side, what are the things you're like, nope. So one of my things is that I actually believe that you can get, and this sounds like such a cheesy kind of value, but you can achieve really good levels of visibility with the people that you want to reach without spending astronomically on values misaligned ads. So a lot of my clients, they don't want to give Mark Zuckerberg money, right? They don't want to give fund big tech. Okay, let's figure out how we can do that without heading down that road. Another one of mine is embrace curiosity because I find that people who are incurious are often not great clients for working with me. So if you're not interested in learning, if you're not interested in engaging with information, that kind of thing, you're probably not going to enjoy working with me. But I can tell you how many people have said to me, I love that you say that on your website. I love that you made it clear that you're a lifelong learner too, because to them, that means you click together. So those are the two things I tell people to do when finding those things that stand out. It's one of the primary exercises that my consulting clients, I take them through. A lot of times people have done values work or mission statement work with a brand strategist, and some of them are very good. Some of them do feel a little perfunctory, ticking off a box, and we don't want to do that because it doesn't bring in those insights. I will also say what's really interesting these days in this post keyword SEO world, because SEO is one of my bags that I carry around, is that we're also seeing that people who clearly include unique insights are having their websites be overly weighted in Google,
Wow.
ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity. You can go down the list and see
Wow.
this commonality. I actually have a working theory that it has to do with actually because these algorithms they're looking for patterns. And when there's disruptions to patterns, they bubble up. That's my working theory.
Okay.
I have not seen good data about this. I don't think anyone really knows, but I've seen the pattern enough and I think that's really exciting because that means it's an opportunity. So yeah, what's your difference? Sorry, we talked about that a long time.
No, but I think that's something we all know what makes us different, but writing copy for people, I've learned all the interesting stuff gets cut for some reason. The lifetime learner, I'm a Star Wars nerd, or whatever the interesting bits are, seem to all get eliminated.
It's
Like when
because
people,
corporate America and school and
that's true,
society
tell
teaches
you
us
that
to
those
fit
things don't
in,
matter.
to look
Yeah,
the same, to act the same. And by the time we're on our own running a business, we've been forced into that mold. I just am
yeah,
not good at people telling me what to do. So that didn't ever really work on me.
valid. I get people telling me what to do. I wish there was a magic button I could press that would just tell me exactly what would work in my business and make me rich. But
Well,
no such button exists, so
on
I
that
just
same
do the
subject,
thing.
so I pulled together some discussion points and I didn't share them with Natalie in
No,
advance
she did not.
because I knew you had so much, you were really saying you were really tired and you had a lot on your plate. And I was trying
Listen,
to.
I have not scripted one video, one live, one podcast episode ever. Hit me.
So one of the things I wanted to emphasize is, and it's what you're saying, like that button, like there's not a button. And one of the things I think is a big problem, and it's still getting sold, and I'm actually seeing it happen a lot more, is there's not a like one cool trick to make your marketing work or to suddenly have loads of sales. And we're seeing that a lot with everyone is getting further obsessed with automations and this and that. And a lot of times these like one cool tricks that people are selling is just adding a layer to your marketing and your sales where I'm like, you don't need to add an 87 point automation to like magically make more sales. What you need to do is consistent.
Animations only accelerate what works or what doesn't work.
Yeah.
So if your current system does work, why would you want to automate it? Why would you want to automatically make it worse? Furthermore, sometimes a small amount of manual whatever isn't the worst thing. Right now, I have 2 private clients. 2. Okay. So if I want to manually schedule them, if I want to send them an acuity link and say, hey, book a call in Slack, it's going to die. Okay. I don't have to set up an automation that says 48 hours after our previous call, send this email with this link. And if they don't click it, 24 hours later, send them a reminder. Have to do all of that. It would be much faster and easier for me to just set it on our call. We'll meet on Tuesday. Hey, what time do you want to meet next week? And we just set it right then. Like that makes a lot more sense than trying to come up with an automation, especially when you have a process that is fluid, or you have a service that is customized, or you have a very small pool of people. Now, things automation makes sense. Like I have a private podcast, it's $100. When people buy it, they get the hello audio email, they get the welcome, they get put on the list. Yes, that makes sense, but you can't automate everything. And it's just like ads. Ads accelerate what is already working. So if your content's crap and no one cares about it, no one engages it, it's AI slop, spending money to Meta to show the AI slop to more people, it's asinine. It's not going to get you more money. If anything, it dilutes what might have been working because now you've got this huge data set. Now instead of 10 leads, you got 10,000. You have no idea why you didn't make money because you didn't solve the problem when it was a small problem. So I like to
And it was
solve small problems instead of accelerating the proliferation of small problems.
I think this sort of discourse where someone's, oh, my launch didn't go great. And there's always, and I feel like I'm kicking on ads managers, and I'm not at all. But an ads
No,
manager will pop in and be like, well, you needed to run an ad to a lookalike group, or someone like an AI expert will be like, well, you should have had implemented an AI program as part of your. There's always this, but you should have, or if you did this one thing, then your launch wouldn't have. And oftentimes what's actually happening when there are marketing or sales problems, because marketing and sales are like their besties, It's often like a number of tiny things that need to be fixed. And I see Molly right there, and Molly's a customer experience expert. And I'm sure, again, like I know she's been in my DMs before being like, you can do like 3 little tweaks.
This shit was little tweaks. For somebody like you, it's little tweaks. For most people, it's 3 big
Yeah, or
problems.
it's
You
big
remember the old school scales at the doctor? They have the big brick that goes from 100 to 150, 150 to 200, and then
Yeah.
you have to tap it between. So if you're between 150 and 200, they move the big block to 150, then they tap until it levels. I feel like the tapping only works if you've got the big block in the right place, and most people don't have the big block. So there was a woman I met that asked me about how her launch could be better, which I don't know why people ask me launch questions.
I was gonna say, no offense, Natalie, but I don't think launches are.
Part of me is flummoxed, and she's gonna have a webinar next week, and I was like, okay, how many people you have registered for it? Nobody yet. That's awful. What do you mean? It's next week. Yesterday. I'm like, how have you promoted it? I sent an email to my list last week. And I'm not shading her because I think someone is teaching this. Without enough touch points, it's not going to happen. If you're not running ads, if you're doing an organic only, time bound, this month launch, you're going to need 50 plus posts. I said it. I'll say it again. And if you don't like that number, run ads, get affiliates, do something else. But that's the number that has gotten me 100 to 200 people to actually register and pay, and 60 to 75% of them to show up. And that's only because mine is paid. Now, if you're going free, you probably don't need to do that many posts, but do you just need registrations, or do you need people to actually see the offer? Because if you need people to actually see the offer, that's different math too. And so like, I'll meet people who will tell me, oh yeah, we had a retreat, we had to cancel it because nobody signed up. And I'm like, how many posts did you make about it? I've been scrolling your Facebook profile. I've been scrolling your LinkedIn for 10 minutes now, and I can't find one post about this retreat. It's not in your bio. It's not in the pinned link. I got an email list. I didn't get an email about it. Oh, I have a welcome sequence. Your retreat is in a month. Damn, a welcome sequence. The very first email should say, we'll get back to our regular scheduled program in a minute, but we are having a retreat on such and such a date, and you really ought to be there. You can't sell in the first email. This is why you don't have any money. The kind of stuff that people tell me, like the rules, are outrageous. Why would you adhere to a rule that keeps you broke? I don't care what the rule is. If I need to make, today is the last day of the month. $1,200 to make in 7 hours. Care about rules?
I had pulled up, my Canva went a little wacky because I was trying to circle something, and apparently I don't know how to do that. I had pulled up one of my other slides where I was saying, you need to know your numbers. That's the other, in that example, maybe that is the one cool trick. Maybe I'm a liar. But if you know how many touch points you need to have to make X amount of money, you can engineer an entire marketing plan around that information. That is not complicated. Natalie?
Yeah, agree.
Like, it's just not. And that is something, again, I find consistently, and this is not a criticism. We don't get taught this. I was in marketing roles and no one ever talked about this stuff, which is bananas if you think about it. Like, how many people do we need to have come to this meeting about this project? Because I did a lot of public communications to ensure that we have community support for this project. No one could put those numbers. 150 years in the organization, the public entity I worked for, no one had ever done that math. What is the tipping point to get community support for something we're doing? Or Natalie was talking about how Natalie's really a Facebook marketing whiz. If you're launching something that month, you got to post 50 times. And that sounds outlandish, but Natalie knows that from past cycles of sales. And I know exactly how many emails I need to send to fill my summer group program every year. I know exactly at what cadence I need to send them. I know how many people I need to have on the wait list. I have that data, and I can.
Yeah. But I think that's why it's important to follow your own data. I have never had success with wait lists, ever. I've had hundreds of people on wait lists, and
I know, and it's for real. I've seen the back end of Natalie's stuff. Wait lists do not work for her
They
audience.
do not work for us. They just don't. We'll get sales, but they won't be sales from the wait list.
Yeah.
And I mean, right that long ever. I got people I've had on the wait list for programs we've run 3 or 4 times and it just never converted. That's not to say they don't work ever. They just haven't worked for us. So we have pivoted our marketing to what works for us. And I think a lot of people are too busy trying to see what works for other people. I don't advise hardly anybody to market how I market. I think Facebook is super finicky. The Facebook gods just shine down on me. Very few people could pull off what I'm pulling off on Facebook or are willing to. They're not willing to do the amount of writing that it takes to keep the Facebook engine going for good reason. But you have to do something. When I meet people who say, I don't like social media, I'm not going to use Instagram, I'm not going to use Facebook, I'm not going to use LinkedIn, I'm not going to run ads, I don't do webinars, I don't do workshops, I don't sell courses, I don't do launch events, I don't do affiliates, I don't do referral partners. What do you do? You can't cross off every type of marketing that you don't like and then just assume I'm going to stay in business. And I think word of mouth has propped up a lot of people to make them think I don't have to market. I've never had to market and I've had this business 10, 15 years. And now the marketplace is saying, we don't care what used to work for you. You're going to show up and market or you're going to go out of business. And a lot of people who've had a business a long time are just now recognizing that they actually need a system to be able to bring qualified leads into their ecosystem every single week. Now, I'm a ham. I think everyone in America should know who I am. So I'm excited every single week that new people get to hear me talk. But if that's not your jam, you've got to figure out how to trick your brain into realizing it's always going to take new eyeballs every single week for you to be able to hit your metrics.
And if anyone, I don't know if anyone who's on this call or who will watch the recording, if you are newer in business, you have it much harder than when, say, I was when I started out a zillion years ago.
Me too.
Because, and even more, even if you, it's way harder. Now what I'm seeing is people burn through their network and their connections within 3 years. So you start a business, if you start a business in 2023, right now, and I've had these conversations a lot this year, you're like, wow, I'm not getting referrals from my network anymore. I'm not, and it's not that that network doesn't love you. It's just they don't have anyone else to refer. And it used to be that cycle used to be much longer. Your network used to stay connected a lot longer. And I think just so people are socially fragmented. There's a lot going on. People are just tired. And so I really worry when someone tells me, oh, I don't want to do social media. I don't want to do a blog. I don't want to do ads. I don't want to do webinars. I don't want to do in-person networking. There's all these things that they're like, well, I get a lot of great referrals. And it makes me worry because I know how that cycle, when you're new, people are
system. It's also not a system. If you're going to be a referral-based business, then you need a referral system. You need to be meeting with your referral partners on a consistent basis.
Maintaining that relationship.
Here's what's going on. You need to be retaining them. At that point, your referral partners are basically your clients. You need to make sure they are clear, they are happy, they are filtering people out. Most people don't even know how to refer business to you. If someone comes to me and they ask me for a marketer, I'm asking them a lot of questions. What is your revenue? What is your model? What types of offers do you sell? What mechanism do you sell them? Because I might send them to Sarah Moon, but I might not, right? There's certain types of businesses Sarah doesn't work with, and you have to be advanced enough. Your offer needs to already be set. If your offer doesn't really make any money, that's a different type of problem than we don't have enough leads and we need SEO. Like, I know how to vet and screen and send people to the best possible referral.
Exactly. I send people to folks who are more qualified to help someone in the particular phase of business they're in. Me too. All the time.
You're actually vetting these people. Folks aren't just saying, send me to a financial planner, and you just think of a financial planner and just send them a name. We don't do that, but that's what most people do. Most referrals, you can't even track them. Folks go, oh yeah, I heard about you from you even know who is. If someone is sending you,
I actually get those too, and I'm like, I literally have no idea who that person is.
So you also are doing your own marketing. If you were reliant 100% on these mythical, you would be more determined to figure out who they were and to partner with them. A lot of referrals are bad fits. So if you are a referral only business, have a system. Put these people into a spreadsheet, meet with them periodically.
Meet with them every quarter.
Yeah, track what they're actually doing and who they're sending you to. and incentivize them too. There are people I used to send a ton of business to that didn't even tell me thank you. Didn't send me a DM and say, hey, you sent so and so my way. Didn't offer me any money or notoriety or discount on their program or anything. I put tens of thousands of dollars in multiple online people's pockets. Didn't even get so much thanks. The referral based thing, when you don't have a system, actually will turn off some
It's
of your back. It's a hard system. And frankly, I feel like no one is responsible for marketing my services but me. Anybody who does not the good business, I'm so thankful. I'm thankful to God for that. But no one is responsible for marketing my services but me. And I feel like sometimes people get a little too reliant on other people selling for them, or even software, right? Because a lot of software will have built-in upsell. If you're a Dubsado, they have tiers, they have quiz, they ask you. People go, if they wanted a higher tier, they would have bought it when it was offered in the software.
Mhm.
And I'm like, what? No. If you want them to pay you more money, you ask them. You push that off on the software. You call them, you email them, you make them a loan video, and you say, hey, I want to personally invite you to this tier of service. Here's what you would gain, and here's how to buy it. It's your business. It's not go high levels business.
Yeah, that is actually one of those things that I actually had to learn, and I probably even picked it up a bit from you, was that sometimes people don't even see the other options. So you need to tell them about the options. That if
They've already purchased,
they've already purchased, and then
Sarah 3 times. If I wanted something else, there's not a software that's going to remind my Notion portal with me and Sarah is not going to remind me to pay for more money.
you've paid me more than 3 times.
Probably 13.
Yeah. I can pull it up and tell you.
Yeah, I'm probably one of those great repeat customers.
You're in terms of number of times you've been
I
in.
can imagine, maybe not dollars, but the number of purchases
And I actually keep a really close eye on that, because that is actually a really good thing to know.
Oh yeah,
That's a
crazy
really,
person pays you 10 times, they'll pay you 10 more.
that's a really good thing to know. And I keep notes on everyone, but I keep particularly detailed notes on the folks who've come back over and over again for many years. It means a lot to them that you remember what their dog's name was.
Oh yeah, I put those kind of things in my CRM. Before I go, one, I'm in no hurry. I have time. Two, are we opening this up for questions?
Yeah, I was going to say, I wanted to say this one. This was my piece I really wanted to say. You don't need to do fancy, busy work. I would rather you sit down, write a blog post, do 5 Instagram posts that you've scheduled out for the next week, send a message to your 3 best referral partners, reach out to that lead that just went nowhere but seemed like a great fit. Do active marketing. Don't be like, oh, I'm going to do my marketing after I vibe code myself a new website. Okay. This is
the only person on earth that doesn't know what the hell a vibe code is.
You don't need to know, you're fine. But it's just, and I say that because it is one of the ways that we all self-sabotage ourselves. I've had people not launch businesses because they didn't like their brand photos. Okay, just don't use any photos. Have your partner take a cute photo of you with their iPhone. I don't care. Launch the freaking website, launch the business.
Wow, you don't even need a site to make money. I've got a peer in Cashmere Club who does 2 million euro a year or 2 million Great British pound a year and doesn't even have a website. I'm not saying that's a best practice to follow. I'm saying
don't let those things get in the way.
Yeah, because that's not going to stop every prospect. And
I have seen people not send an email because they didn't have a cute email template.
Yeah, because they're married to somebody who will allow them to run a business that never makes any money. I'm not married to somebody like that.
You just can't, you cannot, because what happens is if you have a little success without all the fancy busy work, you'll actually get motivated to do more of it. And all of a sudden you realize that stuff was just getting in your way. That was just noise.
No, I don't know why I don't. I'm always perplexed. And maybe this is because I'm lazy.
You're not lazy.
I'm very lazy. I wouldn't work at all if I didn't have to. If I had somebody paying all of my bills, I would not be online at all. I swear to God. However, this is not my reality right now. My point is, if I'm going to devote my time to this business, it has to be fruitful, right? I understand not working. I don't understand working and not getting paid. I don't understand that. And that's all that is. If you are in your business full time, and I don't care what anybody says, everybody is. Even if you have a full time job,
Yeah, even if you have a full-time job, that business is in your
brain is
brain.
thinking about your business all the time. So if you have a full time business, how can you not get full time pay? That's been a barometer of my business. My business cannot command full time hours and not give me full time pay. It cannot. I will not allow it. So if my business can no longer give me full time pay, then it can no longer get full time hours, and I'm going to take my full time hours elsewhere. Period. I'm not going to lose my house, and I'm not going to miss no meals. I've been fat my whole life. I'm not going to be skinny because I'm broke. Diets are bad enough. And the thinnest I've ever been in my life was when I was poor. I literally had $3 a day for food and had to ration out rice and beans. I was so thin. And I was so glad when I got my money together so I could eat junk and sugar and crap. I was so happy. Okay. Oh my God. The first time I had $5 and didn't have to buy a rotisserie chicken with it, I could buy like a giant Snicker bar and a bag of Doritos. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. Kill yourself with the sugar. And there's no way I should ever go back. And so I just want to urge you, even if you do have a partner that pays the bills, even if you're married to an anesthesiologist, which for some reason the Venn diagram,
I love
don't
that
work
you've
in my
adopted
business.
my joke about that.
No, they're all married to
It's a
anesthesiologists.
thing. I made that joke to one of my clients actually. And then 6 hours later, she emailed me, "Oh my God, my top competitor is literally married to an anesthesiologist."
Yeah, even
No
then.
offense if anyone is married to an
But here's what I want you to think
anesthesiologist. I
about.
hope
I
they
want you to
Yeah.
want you to think about how you can get forward financially. I'll be honest. The stats on American finances are abysmal. The average American does not have $1,000 in savings. And that is scary for you. And it puts you at such risk. It makes you more likely to have to pull out of your investments and affect your retirement. It makes you more likely to have to take out predatory loans at really high interest rates, or payday loans or MCA loans on your business that you struggle to pay back. I want everyone here to have a fully funded savings account. And you know what will give you a 3 to 6 month savings cushion? A business with surplus cash, a business with enough profit to pay you a real salary. That is what's going to allow you to invest in your retirement, pay off your credit cards. Somebody here on this call got $20,000 in credit card debt. I would know because I've been there. It sucks. It keeps you up at night, right? And so I don't want that for you. And I'm not saying making a lot of money in your business is easy, but I will say it gets easier when you decide that you are going to market consistently. One of the KPIs in my business is that 200 new people every week find out who Natalie Bullen is. That is a serious KPI. That is probably more serious than how much money we make, because if I can get 200 new eyeballs, I can make money from you eventually. It's just a matter of time. Right?
Yeah,
So
you know that's going to happen.
I know it's going to happen. So if I can get people in the top of the funnel, I can work the middle and the bottom. The middle and the bottom of my funnel is good. The top had always been the issue. So now I pay attention to top of funnel. And I think when we spend time in client delivery, too much time, and too much time in admin and operations, we don't put marketing and sales first. That's why I run the sales challenge every quarter to force people to put their sales activity first. Sales is self-care. Having marketing in your business is self-care. It's the only way your business is worth running. I don't know about you, but I didn't become self-employed to ruin my life, to make my life worse, to have less money and less free time and poor health than I had. And I spent my first 2 years in business really fat, really inflamed, and really tired. And we were making big money, baby.
And you had to
We
take
had
a
money.
big old break
I had to take a
because your
huge break. I
burnout was
burned
so
out.
severe.
And now I've had to change how I sell things, but I never miss my top of funnel goals. So that's what I would leave people with, is decide how many new people you're going to have watching you every week, and do what it takes to get in front of them, especially if you got big personality. Diane don't have no excuse. Diane has big personality. Molly don't have no excuse either.
Oh.
Molly seems fun, and she just in the comments.
No, Molly is great fun.
I see that. That's what I'm saying. So
And like one of those people who can also, she spoke to my summer program last year and
that's cool.
was broke down exactly like, so in a way, Molly has a gift. I'm going to put Molly on the spot. And I bet all of you have gifts like this. Molly
All of you.
broke down like just these little things people could do that were so simple, but no one had ever thought about. She explained how to make a thank you page on a website set the whole stage for your entire client experience. And it was something that anyone could implement. And you should have seen I got comments from so many people like, that was so helpful. That was so great. And Molly made it you could just take that.
You gotta do like social media, and I have to follow you because I'm like,
yeah, but we all have those things.
We all have something.
That
and like,
I think I'm good. I have a similar skill set to Molly where I can take these things that seem hard and
absolutely
find the pathway that makes sense for that specific person. So I'm not going to take I didn't pick up Natalie and be like, you can't do Facebook anymore because that is not my preference.
This is why I paid Sarah and not most marketers. It's very hard to find a marketer that will allow me to use social media. Almost every marketer I have ever met spends all of their time trying to move me off social media. And I'm not saying Facebook is perfect. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying it's free and it's easy for me. And it's effective. It's closed business. And so why would you try to move somebody off of an effective platform? And people go, Natalie, Facebook's not sustainable. You're not going to be able to post every day. Well, I've done it for 7 years. So is it sustainable now? At what point are people going to accept that I can maintain this account? I've met so many people, that's not sustainable. You don't have a sustainable marketing system. And I'm like, what makes something sustainable? I feel like if something is easy, free, and effective, what else does it have to do to be sustainable? You don't own it. Is that really something that makes?
But you have a mailing list, you have a website, you're working on your manifesto.
And none of that shit has ever made us big money. Let's be real honest. Natalie would be homeless waiting on an email list. I think I've made $800 total in life from email, and I've spent $15K on it. And I've gotten one tall book from SEO, and they were weird. And
yeah, but in fairness, your SEO strategy, I gotta say, which I did, was for a different business model than you have now.
Absolutely not your fault. However, even when I had the model that the SEO was for, people weren't. I just don't drive a lot of web traffic. It's just not my model. I just don't do a good job of driving web traffic. So some people do. Clearly, I don't. But I don't buy from people's websites. I might check to see if they have one, but I've never read it or looked at it. I can't tell what platform it's built on.
That's what I do.
Yeah, I know. That's why when I want to know something, I send it to you and I go, hey, can you tell me how they built this page? And you tell me. But I don't know how you do that shit. It's like sorcery to me. It's very bizarre. Because I'm looking at what you're looking at and I'm like, what kind of tool are you using that gives you
I'm like, oh yeah, that's just Tally embedded into their website. And it looks like their website is that. And you were like, oh.
Whatever. So I'm just screenshot and send it to Tara because I'm never going to know what those words mean. But you have to know your strength. And I think people think, oh, you have to have a big personality to market. I actually think my personality works against me a lot of the times, because it makes people like me more than they like the work, which is really hard to overcome.
Too. I have quite a few clients who have a similar challenge, who are very engaging. They all have performing arts type backgrounds.
Yep.
So they're good at creating a presence. And what happens is people get connected to that person and their perceived relationship or friendship with that person. And oftentimes then it becomes
the parasocial relationship is tough. Like
more challenging than when you're the guide moving people through a process.
That's it. And this is what I wanted. I wanted to be a guide, but for the same reason that I kind of flunked out of being a financial advisor, I think I just have too much personality for it. I'm not even on right now. My on personality is a lot. That's why I want to get into stand-up. I feel like I might as well burn off some nervous energy.
I've got time too, Natalie. Do you want to have people? Do you have time to have people ask questions?
Hell yeah. I
for one am shocked that you and I just started talking and couldn't show up.
Why are you sure? Oh, yeah, right. Oh my God. Me and Sarah book an hour we talk to. All right. Diane's question. Do you suggest Reels or Facebook Lives or both to get in front of 200 new eyeballs a month? Diane, Facebook has done something really irritating. They take your lives down after 30 days. So I used to be able to leave a live up there for 6 months to a year. And I used to be able to basically use it like an ad. I had to pin it to my profile and make people watch it. All my videos are long form.
It was such a clever strategy.
It was such a clever strategy, and it worked for years. And now they take them down after 30 days. I've heard you can download and re-upload, and I've heard some workarounds. Again, I'm not techie enough to even understand what those words mean. But in short, in a smart system, let me back up. Do you make money from email?
Me or the person?
Okay. No, either. Okay. If you make money from email, the smart strategy is to attract people with your content and get them to download a freebie. or whatever your prime or whatever your entry level thing is, so that you put these 200 people on your email list and you can market to them forever. I don't make money from email, so I don't bother doing that. But I don't really do reels on Facebook. My reels are like my weight loss stuff. I'm really good with static content. And I know how to write content that will get shared and that will get pushed out there. And then I just track my followers every week. I have a professional account so I can see how many new followers I picked up, how many net followers. So my goal is just 200 a week. Now, how many of them are staying on the platform, seeing my content in the future? There's no way to say. That's why they tell people to pull folks off of the platform so you have more control over the metrics. But unless you've got a really sophisticated email system, which Natalie absolutely does not, the people just get on your list and die. So unless you're going to email people on a consistent basis and nurture and qualify them and close them, doesn't really matter. And I can make more money with 10 Facebook leads than with 10,000 people on my email list. So I just focus that way. I feel like when people find you, they're really hot and interested. So I like to come in hot. If I do a Facebook Live, I have a commercial break every 5 to 10 minutes telling you how you can pay me. I pick topics that I feel like are really sticky and pertinent to my people. I know my folks. My folks are smart, but they're overthinkers. They're mostly perfectionists. They have advanced degrees. They've been in business 15, 20, 25 years. They've never made the money that they feel like they should make. They finally want a business that makes sense for them. They're tired of working their asses off. I know my people. I know my people. What kind of stuff I can sit around and talk about and attract them. I also feel like reciprocity does a lot in my business because I'm so generous and give so much. I give of my time and my expertise that when people have the money, they're happy to pay me back for what they feel like I've already given them. I don't have to do a hard sell to get $1,000 or $2,000 from people. People are like, oh my God, you're giving me so much value. I can't wait to give you $2,000. So I've got a good system going. I also have a lot of trust because my page is safe. Even though it's public, it functions like a Facebook group. You can say something. No one's been attacked on my page. I don't let people go crazy in the
Yeah,
comments.
you don't let people misbehave.
I don't let people misbehave. And so for that reason, people are more likely to answer my engagement questions. People will tell me, I asked the other week how much people were paying for housekeeping. People laid the whole thing, how much they pay, how often they come, how big their houses are, where they found them. They have a house manager, pay me sensitive personal financial information openly for free on the internet because they know that nothing bad is going to happen as long as I am the captain of that ship and that I am going to treat them with respect and respond to their comments. So I think I've got an engine going on Facebook. I wouldn't even call it a posting strategy. I've got an ecosystem. And in
Well, I
my
think
corner of
what
Facebook,
you're
like,
speaking to is regardless of the platform, because actually,
Mhm.
I actually do get a decent amount of leads from Facebook, which is weird. People always are like, "Why are you still on Facebook?" I'm like, "Listen, I actually get like a decent amount of leads from Facebook. It's mostly just cross posting
Yeah,
stuff that
for
I'm
me tagging you 30 times.
yeah, and Natalie tags me and things, but also just random stuff. I get email list signups from Facebook every week. I get email because I post what my email list, what my email is going to be about every,
True.
and people sign up.
You have a good
And
system for that. You tease what the topic
I
is going to
do.
be.
Every week, I'm like, I'm going to be talking about this, and I get email list signups, and I know that if a certain type of person gets on my mailing list, they're going to eventually work with me. It may not be
Okay.
tomorrow. It may be. I had someone who was on my email list for 6.5 years. And then they sent me an email. And we're like, I'm ready to start working together. And I was like, okay, first of all, who are you? We had never had a conversation, but it was like they were so confident that it was the perfect fit. They'd been just waiting. And it's just, which was great. We work together still an off and on again client. So there's just, so I just think there's figuring out what works. I have a client who does great with Instagram Reels, does great,
I'm
you
gonna
know,
go try. I'm gonna try on Instagram.
and there's just
Personality board.
always, it's just always things that figuring out, not being afraid to look like a ding dong and just trying the thing. And seriously,
I'm like willing to look stupid, but anybody who's not afraid of stand up or MC, the battle rap, nothing prepares you for being talked bad about to being over a beat in rhyming words. You ain't been insulted till you've been insulted over a beat in words that rhyme. People sat at home and write stuff to talk trash about you in public.
that's
Over
horrible.
you can do that. Like, nothing is scary at that point, right? And I'm an anti-battler. I already know what you're gonna say. I had crooked teeth. I was fat. I was a nerd. I wore glasses. You know what you're gonna say about me. I'm already prepared with my rebuttal for your little week. Oh, shocker. My BMI is high. What else have you got? I feel like if you've done that, you can do anything. And I think sometimes we just have to be like fearless. I'll be honest. There's nobody's opinion on the internet that's worth me losing my house. So if you think I'm pushing, desperate, broke, trifling, crazy, too much, loud, hey, lay it
There's
on
far
top of
worse
the
things
top.
you can be called than salesy.
So I'm young care and tell them, because I don't like Natalie, I hope her business fails so she can't pay you this month. I don't care. That's kind of how I view negative content. Unless you are willing to pay my mortgage, your opinion can't slow me down. Now, if you want to pay my mortgage, it's $1,016.52. It's due every month at first. I have Zelle and Cash App, so I'm totally open. And if you want to send me that money, you can talk shit the entire month. I've got you. I will give you my Voxer and you can go crazy. But other than that, I can't let it slow me down. Constructive criticism from peers. If Sarah says, hey, there's something you could do, you're doing this, I would prefer you do that, I'm listening. But people who've never paid me, people who really aren't even proponents of my brand, people who don't know anything about me, people who like gossip and are petty and argue on the internet, life is so short. I can't see me letting that kind of stuff slow me down. And I think as a leader of our business, we have to tune out the noise that slows us down. There are people God assigned to me to help make them wealthy. I'm never going to find them and they're never going to find me if I quit because I got discouraged because somebody who's never going to pay me any money says, Natalie, you do too much on Facebook.
This is my policy. I have effectively a swear jar. It's not really, I'm going to tell you, it's the same model. When I see someone being wrong on the internet, so if I thought Natalie was wrong on the internet, instead of arguing, getting into the comments, what have you, I take that and I go do, because if I get in that compulsion to, they're wrong on the internet, and I go do some marketing. So it's like a little marketing swear jar. And so when people are wrong on the internet, I have a whole lot of great email newsletters that are because someone was wrong on the internet. And instead of bolstering them, I take that energy and I put it towards myself. And I know that sounds so ridiculous and so kind of
That's very smart.
It's
I
on
do
a
that all the
petty.
time. No, it's not. It's actually really wise because you get more bang for your buck. People will leave whole dissertations in my comment section, but that's not going to help them get business. That's not going to help them get
It
leads.
doesn't
It's not
help
gonna help
them.
them start a dialogue.
Nope.
Okay. Because I'm argumentative naturally. My Enneagram 8, so is Sarah. My natural inclination is to protect people,
We're not
especially
evil
people.
eights, though. We're not evil
Good
eights.
eights. We're good eights.
We're good eights.
We're good eights, but we're still 8. And 8 is the challenger. So I'm gonna challenge any stupid opinion on the internet. That is my inclination, but it doesn't actually help form a dialogue. So if I actually want an intelligent dialogue, I'm not going to get that from a person who posts stupid things on social media. If I want a smart dialogue, so what I can do is take that comment I was done with and make it a whole separate post on Facebook. So I can read up my numbers and start a dialogue with the smart people on my page, which normally does attract the OP, like the person I was going to respond to. They will normally come into the mix and get themselves angry. You just have to realize that most people online are triggered by things that aren't going well in their life. So you can post something that's completely benign and ain't got nothing to do with them at all, and they'll still find fault with it. I'll go online sometimes and tell people, I don't feel that I can afford children, so I am not going to have children. And people will get angry with that. But about me and my uterus and the money in my bank account. And when they are not willing to raise my child, pay for my child, birth my child, they have no interest in that. But me saying I want to wait until I have money makes them feel guilty because they didn't. And I run into people all the time with their hateful opinions. Sometimes you just got to retreat. There's also a really cool feature on Facebook where, let's say Diane posts something, I don't like it. And I'm not being a good Enneagram 8. I'm a bad Enneagram 8. And so I want to start an argument. I'm going back and forth. What you can do when people respond, you can hit the top 3 dots in the top of a post, and you can hit turn off notifications about this post, and you can delete the notification. So basically, it's like the argument never happened. It's like a mic drop. So you can say what you was going to say, and then turn off notifications, and then delete
I
the whole.
do that all the time.
Yeah, it's great. That way you forget about it, and you can't even go back and find it because the notification is deleted. We were supposed to open up for questions, and then you asked me a question, which was a bad idea.
No, Diane had asked a question, so I think you did answer a question.
We did great. All right. If people have questions, comments, not emotional outbursts, because this is Sarah's Zoom, not mine.
I have a question for Sarah. When you write your word jar response, is it often correlated to what you're upset about, or
Oh,
is
it always
it
is.
something else? Oh, okay. Okay.
I wish I was like this lovely, serene person who's no, I just go and write about something that's meaningful. No, no, I am petty. I have this petty side. I'm not proud of it. I am not at all proud of it, but I try to use it for good. And so yeah, it's kind of, yeah. But it
I
really,
love it.
like,
Thank you.
honestly, I get such wonderful responses from those. Like, I wrote one recently because this guy, Natalie, you shared it and we're like, this is lunacy. The guy who said you needed to post 80 times a day.
Oh my God.
And I was like,
I post too many times a day. Like,
I was like,
get to the
wait a
posting thing.
second.
I feel like the posting thing doesn't have nuance. Like, first, one great post a day is enough to run a business on Facebook, unless you have a time bound, cohort based, live event retreat, blah, blah, blah. If you think something that starts on a certain date, you're going to need more than one post. If social media is the only marketing that you have, if that's not the case, one great post a day. Now, I am not a perfectionist at all. And one way that I get over feeling like my one post a day has to be perfect is to post 3 or 4. Plus, at least one of my 3 or 4 will be good, right? So I like to post more than I need to so that my one post doesn't have to be great. Because anytime I said one great post, that's a lot of pressure for me. I don't
That
want
is
to have
a
to
lot of
write a
pressure.
great
That's a
post.
good anecdote
That's
to
a
like
lot of pressure. So I
perfectionist
actually like
tendencies.
writing 3 or 4 because one of them has to be great, right? Like the highlights. That's one. Two, you need one post for everything you're trying to accomplish. Well, on any given day, I'm trying to get market research and attract new leads and nurture and convert the people I already have and be nosy and see what's going on in the marketplace and tell you something funny or interesting because I have a New Year's resolution from 7 years ago to make 3 people laugh every day. So that's before I launch anything. So if I'm launching something, now I need. So it's not, oh, Natalie has to post 6 times a day. No, I choose to because that's actually easier than having to make one post try to accomplish everything because I feel like that is too much pressure on that one post. It also is because my email doesn't really work. My website doesn't get a lot of traffic. If I had other pieces that were working symbiotically, I wouldn't have to be on social media at all. So I don't think when people make a blanket you don't post enough. I always ask people, what is your goal and how close are you to it? Because if you normally get 100 people in your webinar and you need 200, you're a lot closer than somebody who needs to get 100 and only has 10. And normally what I see is people not willing to post anything. Like posting too much is not anybody's problem. Like I feel like maybe 3% of of the top 1% actually post too much. That's probably not even like a real problem because the algorithm is going to sort. So if I post it, let's say I post 20 times a day, you're only going to see 1 or 2 of those because the algorithm knows that I'm not the only important person on your timeline. Your mom, your friends, your family, your other clients, right? You're not going to see 20 posts no matter how good they are if I post them on the same day. And because everyone knows that, they spread their good content out. If I have 20 posts, I'm not going to post them all today. I'm going to post them all throughout the week because that's what's in my best interest. It's almost like the invisible hand of economics. Buyers set a price, and if it's too high, sellers set a price, and if it's too high, buyers don't buy. If it's too low, buyers buy too much and sell them out. So there's an equilibrium that happens. Things cost as much as they can cost. Humans come in. It's the invisible hand of economics. There's an invisible hand of marketing.
You can do that experiment regardless of what platform you use too. If you have a great email list and people, you know that you've got engaged people on your mailing list, you can play with frequency. You can play with long, short, what messages work. You can try things, get the data, and then use that to make future decisions. I do that a lot because email is very effective for me. And I have the world's most boring email funnel. I'm going to be really candid. People are like,
it's not boring.
No, my emails are good, but my whole system is people find my website, they sign up for my mailing list, they get emails, they buy things. It's really Now,
That's how most systems should be. If my little 7-year-old nephew can understand my funnel and my business, I test it on him all the time. I feel if it takes a college degree to understand what you're doing, it's probably too complex. Even if you sell to smart people, I'll tell you the truth. I'm exhausted. You're taking a whole week off, like a week off, no computer week off, no thinking about business week off, leave me alone week off. But I feel like whenever I meet people who are like, yeah, I've got all these pieces in my business, you don't need half of them. The 80-20 rule is always in play, right? I get 80% of my customers from 20% of my posts, and I know what 20% they are. So if I wanted to, I could just call down to post like that 20%.
I figured out in my email this stuff that works best for my business. And again, you need to know this. This is where that one size fits all, that one cool trick, all of that is BS, because what works in my business, which is the stuff that creates the most action, or like little nuggets that I have discovered myself, right? So whenever I share something like that, I always get inquiries for services or bookings for strategy sessions or what have. Every single time when I share, you'd be like, Sarah, why don't you just do your email?
Because
Just that.
you're
I'm like,
super smart. You also asked people to buy. It's
And-
right there.
it is right there.
It's right there. It's even in your bio. Your bio is marketing consultant. So one-on-one, link, website, link. Your bio has no wasted space. It's very obvious what you're in business to do. And like,
But
you have
it's
a
just-
chill personality. It's so much easier. Like I tell people, if you have a chill personality like Sarah, you can sneak up on people's wallets and they won't even notice.
It sounds like I'm a pickpocket. But everybody
sees me coming. I'm not covert at
you're
all.
not
I'm just
subtle.
like,
That's true.
hey, Natalie, I want your cash.
But
it's more like, I'm Sarah and I have a dog and I paint. By the way, I want $5,000. But besides that, it just slides in so smooth. The next thing you're typing in your credit card number. You're so mean. Be a client. I read that. I'm like, I should book a call with her. She's like, I have a rare opening next Tuesday. And I'm like, we just met last week, but meet next Tuesday. Like, I don't even have anything else to say. It's like super chill. You know what I would love? I would love to be able to go out into the world with a different sales persona. Like The Mask, like how it turned Jim Carrey into this crazy person. I wish I had that. I wish I could put on like all 9 of the sales personas that I've mapped out and go out into the world and sell as each persona to prove that it could be done. Because I feel like people think that I can sell because I have this extroverted personality, which is hilarious because I don't leave my house. I know, but it's hard to prove. It's hard to argue against something that you have going for yourself.
I am good at sales. My personality is very different from Natalie's.
It's such a ninja, man. It's so impressive.
You can practice. You literally, I used to have a script. I would get so anxious about, but one of the things I learned doing fundraising is you can have a freaking script. And you can even have one for different scenarios. If someone said, and you can have that next to you're on Zoom, no one can tell. So you can have that right next to your desk and be like, all right, I'm going to look at my cheat sheet because this scenario happened. I used to literally say, so I think I can help you. The best solution, I had that written down. The best solution is XYZ. The investment is XYZ. How does that sound to you? And I had that written down because I would be like, so you can really do that. You can really learn and practice, and then it becomes easy. And so you don't have that impediment where you're like, I love what I do, but I hate doing sales and marketing, because it's maybe I don't love doing sales and marketing, but I know how to do it. And I know what works.
People do love it. I think people do love it if they actually viewed what marketing was. I think people think marketing and sales is like a costume they have to put on.
No,
It's like this job they have to do. Exactly. And if you really love your thing, you can't not talk about it.
Yeah.
And all of my talk of being lazy, one thing you could DM me at 2 a.m. Thinking about completely selling out of the stock market. What? That's you don't ever do that. Tell you, and I will wax poetic for an hour about why you should absolutely not sell your stock out of the stock market, whether it's down or not. Because it means that much to me. I've been behind closed doors. I've heard how white men talk about the rest of us. heard how the conversations go when they think we don't have power. I've heard them talk about how their wives are trapped and stuck and have golden handcuffs because they have made certain that their women are not financially able to leave them. I've already been in those rooms. Why do you think we having these free financial forums? Because I don't want us to be the stereotype that happens in these rooms with really wealthy people. These men are not safe. The best thing you can do is have your own money and your own investment account, your own savings and your own life insurance, just in case. I understand your husband is amazing. That's a blessing, but he's probably not amazingly rich. You would probably help your household if both of you had a living wage and were investing it wisely. Love or not love. You love your husband every day. I don't know what they got to do with me not making money. It's really important. So if you love what you do, you cannot talk about it. Sit out there. That's marketing. Talking about your thing is
Talk
marketing.
about your
So,
thing. And if
yeah,
you,
I don't think it has to be as complicated as now. Do I like building funnels and quizzes? And do I like doing a whole bunch of work and tactics? Hell no. No, I don't like doing that. But that's not all of what marketing is. And
But
if
if
you
you-
something out, well, you don't have to build it all the time. I had a quiz that ran for a year and a half with basically no tweaks.
yeah, same. I had one that I think
like
ran
it-
for 3 years.
It was fun, but it wasn't constant work. If your site is up, now I tweak my site a lot because I write my own copy. I'll tell you what has really worked out. Whenever I put language on my site that I help solidify pivots for smart multi-hyphenates, that has been going crazy. People
That's
see me as
interesting.
like the queen of pivot, which is so interesting. People think I can sell anything, which is incorrect, but flattering.
I have had the phrasing this is why it's always good to know what works. I have been using a lot of the phrase turning your expertise into your marketing competitive advantage. And I say that in different ways. I actually use sort of elevated language because my people, I work like a lot of scientists and nerdy types. And but when I talk about, I can take your expertise and actually make that your marketing, they're like, oh. And that is, I literally ask people, I'm like, oh, what was it that encouraged you to book a call with me? And because I'm shameless, I ask. And I've had that particular phrase or iterations of that phrase, because I use it a lot, repeated back to me. They're like, oh, I knew you could work with someone who did this super weird thing, or that you weren't going to make me sound like, I had someone say the data scientist I mentioned said something about everyone sounded like a girl boss, and that is not my vibe. No.
Yeah.
And it was, she
Good
pointed to
question,
that
though.
phrase. Yeah.
We got a good question. You say you talk about your thing every day, but how do you balance that with the idea that most ideal clients aren't very interested in that topic? They just want the results of that thing. They don't want to hear about it. They don't want to learn it. You know what? I care that they don't want to learn about how you build wealth or stocks. I don't really care. You're going to get it anyway, because it would be incomplete of me as a revenue strategist and a person who helps people. There's two arms of my business. My business helps people who are already in business make more money via better messaging, higher pricing, better sales strategy, right? Those are the three prongs. If I tell people I'm going to help you make more money, that's what I mean. I'm going to help you with make your messaging irresistible, help you get pricing that ensures it has profit in it and that you sell it to enough people, and help you close. But the other arm of my business is like, how do you increase your net worth? Now, people don't give a damn about stocks, bonds, equities. They don't know what securities licensed means. They don't know that I used to be a financial advisor. They don't know the difference between financial advisor and financial planner. I don't give a damn. That's part of why you're here. You're going to learn today, because it would be remiss of me to take your money without any understanding of what is going on under the hood. I actually don't take money from people like that. You're going to have to be able to articulate how you think I can help you. It's one of the questions on my sales thing. How do you anticipate that Natalie is going to help you solve your problem? If you have some version of, I think Natalie's a genius, I think Natalie is so smart, no, I won't take your money, because you don't understand the mechanism enough to comply. I don't have her consent. You consent to something you don't even know what it is. That's no. Two, I think it's a misconception that people don't want to learn. I think people don't like how they've been taught. I
agree.
did not like marketing when I met Sarah Moon. I was a salesperson. I hated marketing. I just wanted to get the people on the phone and ask them for money. That's my comfort zone. All of that stuff that happened before was super freaky to me. I had lost money with ads. I had been confused with blogs. I don't read blogs. I don't even use Google. I don't go to Google and ask it questions.
Yeah, you are like an atypical American consumer.
Such an atypical person. I'm 38 and I don't understand LLMs. I don't understand AI. I don't understand crypto. I don't understand NFTs. I don't understand the metaverse. What the fuck is that?
There's a
I don't
whole lot of
understand
stuff
anything.
that you
I'm
really
s-
protected protected yourself from.
True, but I don't have the cognition. And when I don't understand things, that's confusing because I'm gifted. So in the areas I'm smart, I'm really smart. But in the areas I'm dumb, I'm really dumb. And that bothers me. That affects how I view myself. So I try not to even interact with things I don't understand because it doesn't make me feel good about myself. Say this to say, Sarah started talking about how SEO was not that much different than social media. It's just having the right information for the internet to scrub and crawl my site and then give it to humans who are looking for it.
It's not that deep, folks.
She made it less scary for me. So is it that people don't want to learn about SEO, or is it that the way that SEO has been taught is intimidating and scary to people? I don't think people don't want to learn about growing their business. I don't think people don't want to learn about CRMs. I think people just want to learn about CRMs. Maybe not that word.
Actually, CRMs are super interesting.
But even if they don't, right? Maybe people want to learn about how do you make sure your leads don't slip through the cracks. I don't have a formal CRM right now. And believe it or not, I do most of my business on memory. Terrible strategy, but it's what I got. There's a prospect that I messaged last Friday. I made a post last Thursday and I had some limited time offers and she was interested in one of them. But then she started asking other questions to see if maybe another offer would be better. I asked her if she wanted to hop on a call. She said she was too busy. She'd follow up Monday. She didn't follow up with me Monday. I followed up Monday. I haven't heard from her. So I have it in my mind to follow up today because it's Friday or Thursday.
It's Thursday.
Right? It's the last day of the month. It's the end of the month. I can't remember that. I can't remember that. I remember her name. I remember her face. I remember the name of her business. That is very atypical. I have a very unusual memory. I can remember anybody who's thinking about paying me. You talk about paying me, and I know your name the rest of my life. We in bed together, baby. We in love. Okay? What? You gonna pay me $3,000? No, it's you. It's you,
I
girl.
am gifted with a really good memory too, and sometimes it's
I'm damn gifted with the memory of dollar signs. Unrivaled.
one.
Okay?
I have an answer for Molly's question as well. That's like more of a tactical answer.
Of course.
What I found is that a lot of the time, like you were saying, people get really bogged into the techie. They'll start talking about, and then we're going to upload it to the FTP, and then we're going to, and you just lose people. They're like, and what I found is I instead just tell a lot of stories. I have got stories for days. I do have a database. I will say the database in my head is even bigger.
You have a database of stories.
Yeah. I give it
Such
to
a
people.
nerd.
I give it to people in my summer of SEO program, and they love it and they
You ain't
use
never
it
gave me no database of stories.
because I developed it after I worked with you. Because I realized people didn't know that they could just write down their
Answered
story.
27 times. I want the database of stories.
All right, I'll give it to you if you want it. I don't care. But what I found is that if I can be like, instead of saying, hey, yes, Molly remembers story, successes, and stats. It's 3 S's. So but what happens is when people can see, really it's their hearing, but they can see, oh, so this person did X, Y, Z. This was the result. And you can slip in the processes. Slipping in because I want people to, I actually feel like it's non-negotiable that people understand the process. When I see biggest problems with, when I get friction, and I see this with my consulting clients too, have shared this with me about their clients. When people do not understand what's going to happen in the process, they bring their own expectations, put that into their, what they perceive is going to happen. And then they're upset when that doesn't happen. And you need to spend a lot more time explaining process before someone is ever a client. And I will die on this hill. Molly was in my program last summer. I remember I made poor Justin ask everyone what they were. He was a web designer. I made him ask everyone, if you have hired a web designer or thought about it, what were your worries? And every single person was like, I don't know what happens when someone designs my website. I've tried it before and it's been weird and I haven't been happy with the result. And it felt like I didn't have place to input. I didn't have input. Every single person, like 20 people were like, yeah, I didn't understand the process, or the process was confusing, or it felt like I wasn't part of the process. It was over and over again, this process question. But no one wants to hear you sit and rattle on about, and then we upload the spreadsheet. It's just not how. So that's where stories can really help you, where you can focus on little tiny bits of that process so people understand what's going on before they hit that inquire button. I will get on my, yeah. Oh, yeah. Operations is very misunderstood.
Operations really misunderstood. And there's probably 3 big reasons, but like the number one reason is that people who aren't selling operations offers aren't calling it operations. They're calling themselves COOs and DOOs, but they are selling offers that are really tech offers that are like setting up software.
I've seen this so often.
My first COO was really a tech person. She was actually like a CTO. And like I needed someone to help determine but way before the software, what we were going to do and how we were going to do it. And then
like, what was the best way to go from point A to point B?
Exactly.
Because it's the same person I worked with, but I knew that.
See, and I didn't. So that's what I mean. So the problem with ops is there's people who like love it so much they want you to learn it. So like I bought a program that came with 2 hours of office hours a week, and I had to show up for 2 hours and waste 2 hours every single week trying to learn how to do my own ops with her advice. It was like a co-working, and I hate co-working and I hate body doubling. So that was like painful for me. So there's lots of things going on there. There's so much education.
But
someone asked,
oh yeah, operations people, if you can help people understand what is the breadth and depth and interconnectedness of operations,
and
that is just
and who it's for. Some services like CFO or CMO have a price point that's such that a brand new business would never accidentally stumble into it. They're not going to accidentally start paying a CFO $8,000 a month. It's just not, right? So as a newer business or a lower revenue business, you can self-select out. Operations can be $49, $4,900, $49,000. It's at every price point. So it's very easy to inadvertently get people who are too early to stumble and fall into your program. And I find that maybe 10% of the ops people I follow have any content at all around this is the stage of business you need to be in before my services can help you.
Or like even here, if you're a beginner, here's the piece of operations you need to think about. If you're starting to sell,
you need
here's
that,
the,
right?
you know,
So
there's so many marketing opportunities for operations.
Launching like a financial membership. I'm going to let people know this is not financial literacy. If you need to fix your credit, rebuild after bankruptcy, learn what a budget is, you need a free service. Here's some free services. Go buy them. Right? If you are super rich and already have a hedge fund, man, a private office, and you have a net worth of $20 million, you are further ahead than this, and you can get in one of my wealth management programs. For everyone else, this service can help you. Here are the tiers. Here's what it costs, and you can buy it. You never see that with ops people. So they lay out all this stuff, but it leaves the reader thinking, am I ready? Do I have what I need to succeed in this offer? That's why the sales don't happen, because you would think a person would ask, oh, is this the right fit for me? Most people are never going to do that. If it's not obvious, they just don't buy. They're not going to inquire. I think people think, oh, if people have questions, they'll inquire and ask the question. So that's not what really happens. You got to proactively answer that.
I always say you've got to answer the pre-client jitters. That's another one of my Sarah-isms.
I like that. That's a cute Sarah-ism. I'm trying to get my Natalie-isms, but
because it's true. What's the thing that's making someone like,
people are intimidated by me. He thinks he can't grow their business. They're afraid to work with me because they think I'm going to do something to them, which is really odd. I think I'm one of the kindest people on the internet, but for some reason, big personality scares people off. I had somebody that was like, I thought you were mean. And I was like, who have I been mean to on the internet? I go out of my way to be kind to people. But Stephanie has a hand up, and then Leila has a question in the comments.
Stephanie has a question.
All right, go for it.
Hey, how are y'all today?
Hey, boom, I'm good.
So I am actually an operations professional. And I think when we're talking about, you were talking about who is this for and all those different things. Sometimes I think as ops people, we're almost like the anti-marketing people. And what I mean by that is we thrive so much in the background, like even of our own business, our natural inclination is not to move forward. But I think that was amazing advice and I'm going to implement it right away. But the question that I have is, if you were starting from zero, and since we were already on the topic of ops and I am an ops professional, if you were starting from zero, like at lead generation, what are some of those first few steps that we can take to set that lead generation goal, that how many eyeballs kind of goal?
Oh, I think I'm like, okay, first of all, it depends on how many like, what is your service price point? How many clients do you need? Because if you need two new clients a month, that's a very different equation, but it's also a lot more precision than if you need 10 new clients a month. You know what I mean? So that is with that big caveat. I'm like, I want to answer that, and Natalie, interrupt me if because I'm like I'm verbally processing it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
say this. One, I don't think it's bad to be in the back office of your business if you can make that part of your model. So I'm anti-tech, suck with operations, and don't like to spend money that I don't have to spend on meta ads. So me showing up live and being in the front of my business makes a lot of sense. It's how I make my money. But if you're smart enough to have something going in the back office, like if you had a course that you had ads running to that basically sold itself on repeat, or if you had enough retainer clients that renewed because they loved your service, you could accomplish both.
Well,
Have to be in the front of my
I'm
business.
thinking if
That make
I'm
sense?
someone who's like someone who likes to be in the back, which used to be me, but then I realized
That's
actually,
what I'm saying. But you can build a model
in
that rewards that. I feel like so many times we try to tell back of house people to become front of house people. And that's
yeah.
not the only option. You are just
And
really badass at being back of house.
I would think from a marketing tactics kind of standpoint, like I would think an operations person who loves being in the background, like pushing the buttons and making the magic happen, that's someone who's probably really good at, for example, writing a blog post, demystifying something that your clients
Yeah.
find really confusing. I would say customer experience, because I know Molly, that's her wheelhouse. Again, that's stuff that people are like, wait, I need a thank you page when someone downloads something and it can actually help me get more leads. What? That kind of stuff where you could, and because that's something that can then sit there and do the work, just like your operations work, it feels really aligned. I would also think sometimes I've seen people who are more on that. It sounds counterintuitive, but I've also seen folks in that world do really well on YouTube because they can explain, hey, here's one of the mistakes I see people make. And here's why that's the wrong way to go. Instead, do this and this. And people can hear your voice and they're like, dang, they know a lot. I see that. And that again is a mechanism that sits there and works for you while you're off doing your magic. But what a lot of people miss with both of those particular tactics is they'll sit there and people will read the thing or watch the video, and then there's nothing for them to do after they've engaged with that video or that article. And so they think you're just a YouTuber or just a blogger. So you have to be really careful in making it clear that you are a business who offers this service for money. I know this sounds so fundamental, but I've seen it so much that it's one of those things where I tell people to really literally mention in the first paragraph, when I work with clients on this challenge, here is one of the things we always dig into. Say it and say it again, and also offer something for them that's a secondary. If they're not ready to book your service, maybe you have a low price one-time call. That is my best lead magnet. It's $350, which I know is not low price to a lot of people. I just want to say that, but in my
It's low price. It's low price in the world of one-time consults. It's
in
cheaper than
my
mine.
field, it is
I'm a fan.
really affordable.
It's
A
really
lot of people are
valuable.
charging 3 times that, so I will stand by that it is low price in
Sarah
my world.
is the only
And-
person in history who I have told people to book and said, if you do not feel you got $350 worth of value, I will reimburse you personally. And I have never gotten a reimbursement request. Like when people ask me, should I work with Sarah? I go, yes, book the 325 or whatever consult. And they go, is it worth it? And I go, it still don't feel like it's worth it. Circle back and I will refund you.
But again, so something like that
Certainly
can
don't
be,
find about whether it's worth it or not.
and that is so you're putting something in your pipeline, and I
To
think
build
actually
trust.
that works better than say a $95 course or something like that.
Courses are
because
hard.
they
It
get
also depends, though. I think there's a continuum between price, high price, low price, and intimacy, high intimacy, low intimacy, and anonymity. I know who you are. I don't know who you are. And I think that you've got to test the sliders,
like
which
what
those
what in
variables
that matrix
are.
makes sense.
Because yours is highly intimate and medium price. But if I don't know you and trust you, I don't want intimate. I don't want to be on a call with you because I don't know you like that. So I find that having something that is intimate and not high price, and also having something that's anonymous. That's why I like my podcast. You can listen to it without having to feel like you're engaging with me. You don't have to put time on your calendar. You don't think I know who you are. I do, because I'm looking at the listener stats and Hello Audio, but you don't know that. So I like having an option that's, here's something where
Well,
people can be anonymous to me, but here's something where people can be intimate with me, and I can play around with the pricing as need
that's
be.
why I have my other thing, which is my blog post titles ebook, which is super cheap. People can
Yeah.
actually use it, and they're like, oh, and it's cute because they'll email me and be like, I wrote that and people are reading it.
Yeah.
And so again, the way people can get a win with that kind of long form, whether we're talking blog posts or we're talking something like YouTube, that really makes a big difference where someone has the ability to get a win before they commit to a longer term service. I will say it's very hard if your only option is, say, a 3 or 6 month coaching engagement. It is
That's
a
hard. That
very,
used to be
very
easy. That
Yeah.
my business is upside
but
down.
in
So I
2020 in
sales.
2026, that is very
That's
hard to
very
sell
rare.
people.
But there's a point where that's all people bought. I didn't have a down sale. I didn't even need a down sale because all people bought was the coaching. I think, yeah, so that's the continuum somebody asked. Price, how low, intimacy, how low, anonymity. Is it I know who you are or don't know who you are?
I really love that question though about like how to align the way you work with your marketing. That's
But this is
something
what
that
I think. I think it's all your idiosyncrasies. If I don't like people, I'm going to lean into my automation. I'm going to figure out what kind of anonymous offers are really exciting to me. If I don't like one-on-one, I'm going to figure out how to make my scalable offer really attractive. I bought a program from a guy whose name I've already forgotten about how to run a profitable newsletter. Now, he ran the whole thing live. I didn't want to go live because I don't know him like that. I just watched the recordings, but it had a lot of value. And he talked about in the video, he doesn't really do one-on-one work. It depletes him. So he waits until he has enough demand and he runs these cohort type programs, and then he makes them evergreen, sells them his courses. And he's made millions of dollars this way. I think you have to be honest with what it works for you or doesn't work for you. That's what I think makes me top tier as a coach, because I'm not going to tell you what you prefer is wrong. And that's what my whole life experience has been with teachers.
I've had that experience as well. And I think a lot of us
You're
have.
wrong. Like when I tell people I don't really like running group programs, I've told people that before. That's a mindset issue. You just don't want to scale your business. You're going to have to fix your mindset in order to blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, is it really a mindset issue to not like doing cohort based launches, or is it really tiring and I have chronic fatigue? I feel like there's a lot of ableism in the industry that makes it where unless you can do this thing this way, like this person who has a wife running his whole life in the background, I'm the wife that runs the whole life in the background. So obviously I can't run a business like Alex Hermosi. I think he looks weird anyway, and the Band-Aid freaks me out. So I've never seen him. And when I saw him, I was like, what the heck is that? And it was like this Popeye looking guy with this Band-Aid. And I was like, oh my God, it's like Nelly from 2000.
I don't get it with him.
I don't get anything. Everything is confusing to me, but I like to repel people who like the easy route.
If you're really
because-
not, if you're someone who's had your sort of natural strengths crushed by the system, which is a lot of people, especially women, like yeah. And you're just like, I don't even know where. Go to spend the $49 or however much it costs and do the Clifton Strengths Assessment. Like, and I know that sounds
it works. It's really great.
It was very helpful.
Do Abraham, it was really helpful to me. It was very affirming.
When I was looking at, I knew I wanted to shift my business model. And because staffing is truly the hardest part of running a business, I will die on this hill.
Truly, will die on this hill.
And I did the Clifton Strengths Assessment, and it showed I have mine is crazy because it's like all the strategic stuff and then relationships. And the other two, which I don't even remember what they are. I have nothing. I got nothing. Like, why was I running a business that brought in a ton of execution? That didn't make any sense. So that was very helpful for me to see, oh, this explains why this stuff feels hard. How can I make these changes? So if you're one of those people who feels really, I don't even know spend that little tiny bit of money and get that report because it's
It's
very
worth it.
helpful.
We have a question in the comments.
Oh.
Let me get it really quick. It's from Leela. She wanted us to explain the difference between sales and marketing.
Well, that's a really mean question. Do we have to answer it?
I think it's a really good, simple question. I would argue that marketing is what makes people aware that you exist and gets their attention and nurtures them. And sales is when they actually swipe the card. So
I think sales there's a little bit that happens before the sales because
fine.
there's a lot of, I had a boss who had done sales training at like a big, like national
What's
chain.
the conversation too?
And
The copy too, if we're being honest.
She loved hiring teachers to work in sales in the summertime because they were so good at product education. So they would,
my God. You're right. Product education makes or breaks it.
and that is one of those things that stuck in my head because she would talk about how if you can explain the product in a way that makes sense to
anybody, you can make the sale. And you know what's interesting? How much people struggle with product education for products they created. I used to work for Verizon and I struggled with product knowledge because I had a flip phone and I lied and said I had an iPhone to get the job. Just like when I worked at DirecTV, I didn't even have a television because I was poor, but I lied and said that I had satellite and that I had watched some show called Dexter that came on something called Showtime, none of which I could afford because I was poor. So I will lie to get a job and I'll just figure it out when I get there. I got a job at Sears Teleserve. They told me, do you know how to work a screwdriver? Do you know how to take apart a lawnmower? Do you know how to read a schematic? Of course, I'm 16. I'm a mechanic. Of course I know how to do those things. So I'll just will lie to get into the job and I'll figure it out when I get on the job. But it was interesting to the number of people who create their own product and don't know the product. I don't know the product because I didn't make the product. I don't know what satellite television is. I don't know how regular television works.
You should know your offer like the back of your hand.
Like the back of your hand. You made it. There shouldn't be any kind of question that a prospect asks you about your offer that you cannot answer. And if you can't, your offer's too complicated. Or it's not too much.
Always too complicated.
It's too much variability in it. It should be like pretty easy to describe.
If you're designing websites that are super custom, you should still be able to answer any question.
So now here's the question. So where is the line between sales and marketing then?
I think they're like this. I'm
with you. I don't think there's a clear line because
your message
sell people, which some people call marketing. By the time people get on sales calls with me, they're already saying yes, which I feel like is a component of marketing. But the conversation itself is definitely sales.
Yeah, I think, and also your sales conversations, you should be on message, which is marketing. You can't, this is one of the things that drove me crazy in like
messaging is branding. And I think branding is an entirely different beast than marketing. No,
I think branding touches every aspect of your business. A good brand strategist will walk in and
we need to make a little graphic then where brand is at the top and it has the little spokes that come out.
I have a graphic like that somewhere.
Yeah.
It's not in my current branding, so I'm not going to pull it up.
No.
But it is one of those things. But your message, for example, I consider that part of marketing. It is a piece of branding, yes, but it's that the marketing has to distill the message in multiple mediums, in multiple ways. But what a big problem is when you have people in business development or sales who are not trained in the marketing. So they say things, make the sales, and then the poor people who have to deliver it are like up a creek because the salespeople went rogue.
Verizon Wireless had a huge problem with this. We used to work in the call center and the people in the store were getting completely different information. They would say anything to close the deal. They would lie. They would tell people you can get service free for a month. They would say anything.
A friend of mine worked for Vodafone
to close a deal.
And then
they would call the 800 number and be irate with us because we couldn't make good on whatever lie they had been told at the store. It was terrible. And I'm like, do you not understand what happens in the call center, what our rules are? Every time I would talk to a rep, they'd be like, we didn't know that. We never knew that you all were taking the heat. There was such a lack of education. And that's why I think it's so important as an entrepreneur for you to learn I have 9 departments that I claim that an entrepreneur runs, for you to know all of them before you start outsourcing. Because when you outsource something you don't understand,
it will be a boondoggle.
It will be a boondoggle, and you're also going to make mistakes. If you outsource your marketing because you don't like marketing, you don't know what the marketing is doing. So your sales process can't possibly be the right process because marketing and sales in a good system are enmeshed. There's no way that you could have a great sales process when you are ignorant about what the marketing is doing in your company.
Yep. Okay, we got one last question and we should probably wrap up.
Listening.
Hey, okay. So my question is, I've been working on my messaging and my marketing, and I've been trying to differentiate myself from a consultant and a coach because I'm not. So how important do you think that is when we're posting or doing our videos to tell people actually how we do the work? Do they care how we do it, or they just want to know we get it done?
I think
they
clients care how people do the work. I also think the titles get blurred. When I go online and tell people I'm not a coach, I lose money. Coach is the buzzword. It's what people are
I
trained
could make
to
so
want.
much more money if I said I was a coach.
And I
I've
make more
lamented
money
this
when
to
I say I'm a
Natalie
coach.
so many
And
times.
I make more money when I say I'm a coach. I can prove it. So people do not understand what a coach does because they've never been in sports.
It sounds
Right, like it's
fancy.
just-
It sounds like, yeah.
It's right. And I think it's more in tune to talk about what people are looking for. Most of my people are actually looking for advice. Hey, Natalie, what do you think about this sales page? What do you think about this price? What do you think about this offer? What do you think I should do? I'm not making enough money. People are asking me questions that are advice. Coaches don't give advice. So instead of going online and saying, I'm not a coach, I give advice, I could just say, if you are trying to solve this type of problem, if you're wondering what you should sell or how you should sell it or what you should call it, then you can hire me. That way I'm explaining advice and I am modeling advice without having to say coach, strategist, consultant, advisor, because all of those are synonymous to people. They have no clue. And because people who don't coach are out here calling themselves coaches, it's blurred, right? It's just like operations. People who do tech and funnels say they do operations. People who do marketing say they do operations. Then you get a populace that does not
Explain
understand what
specifically
operations
you're
is.
doing.
That's it. Explain what you're doing, not what it's called. I wouldn't go online and say, I am not a coach and I am not a consultant. Because I think that just plants in people's mind, oh, then you can't help me. They've already
And
made a
explain for
stereotype.
who you're doing it. Because that's also something I see a gap
and
a
how.
lot of times
Yeah.
because to us, and I've had the same problem. So no judgment. Where I'm like, it's super obvious. It's not obvious. It's not obvious. Just say, I do this for, and be really specific. You say service providers like certified financial planners, attorneys, and corporate consultants. Be really specific because people want to be able to see that you understand what they do because everyone thinks their industry is super special and unique. And so you got to be specific.
Thanks. That helps.
Also-
'Cause I call myself a fractional COO, so I think no one knows what that is. So that makes sense.
We do. We've hired
Some
10.
people
There's
do, but
continuity. If I do
Right.
know what it means, it doesn't help you because that person
Yeah.
doesn't do what you do. Because again, there's no parameter around what a COO could do for somebody. What
Any
you
of
do,
these fractional, this is a pro tip because I have quite a few clients who are fractional C-suite providers. Any of those titles, COO, CMO, like any of those fractional, one of my longtime clients is a fractional legal counsel. It's be really clear about what that entails. And I would also, frankly, consider writing something on your website that's literally, what does a fractional COO do? Literally write it out.
and what
Also
fraction people are
ChatGPT
paying
and
for.
everything loves those kinds of
But here's the thing,
content.
and what kind of fraction are we talking about? Is this 1/10 of a full-time hire, 1/5 of a full-time hire, half of a full-time hire? I find that never gets really defined either. So you don't really know, am I paying for time? Am I paying for deliverables? That's the thing about fractional that gives me pause. What fraction am I buying? And that rarely ever gets put out there. I want to know if I'm buying half a hire or 10% of a hire or 1% of a hire. Like, how much work am I getting? But I also feel like most people's content could be more personable. Let me know if you want some advice on some of your recent posts. I could drop you a voice note later.
yes, that'd be great.
Yay.
All righty, you all. We should wrap up.
I'm about to say, I'm going to get off of Sarah's time because I'm going to dinner and then I'm putting on my fanciest outfit and I'm going to see the Devil Wears Prada too,
Oh,
baby.
you've been looking forward to that for a year. I know you've been planning your outfit.
I
You've
have
been,
so little joy in my life right now. I am so happy.
I'm so happy.
Yes, I am. I think we did great. I feel like we got to all of the questions.
All right. How do I determine who is when it's anybody with a body? Okay, no, you're not talking to everyone. I'm going to answer this super quickly. Think about your very favorite clients, your very favorite people who you want to work with.
I should save this chat because Molly has some really great comments in
Like
it.
seriously, think about that. When I was in that place a million years ago, I had this great client. Her name was Rebecca. So when I was thinking about my marketing, I would think about what would Rebecca like? Really, her name's Rebecca. She's lovely. I'm still in touch with her to this day. I would think about, okay, would Rebecca like this? Would this resonate with Rebecca? Would Rebecca appreciate this information? I would literally think about how I was marketing to Rebecca. Poor Rebecca. She did 2 different projects with me. Great client, lovely person. But I would literally, because it's hard sometimes when you're like, oh, I actually like working with a diversity of people, which I also do. So that's kind of where, and I know that sounds so hokey, but it's actually incredibly helpful. Would you, if you're thinking about your ideal client, would you describe Rebecca this way? Okay, I'm donating Rebecca to you.
I think that's great advice. I also think in writing, you should write like you're writing to one person. Very rarely does a person read an article and go, hey, honey, come here and read this with me. People watch Instagram reels by themselves. They read blog posts by themselves. They read emails by themselves. So when you use a lot of they, I see they language a lot. I've had this happen. They did this. They did that. A lot of business owners do this and then they do that. Who is this they? You're writing to me. I'm reading me. So when Molly writes to me, she can say, oh, Natalie, I know sometimes business can feel hard, right? If you're anything like some of my clients, you're ready to throw in the towel. Let me talk about how I can help you. There's one me and there's one you, because nobody is reading, nobody's gathering friends together for a watch party to read your emails. So
No.
that like you're writing to one person is really important, and you need to know your person, right? I want to go to Vegas and spend 48 hours doing absolutely nothing productive, right? I want to drink margaritas, want to have great food, I want to sweat on the strip, right? What kind of friends I can ask? Give me that. She just ain't giving me that. Sarah likes her husband. She likes being home. She's gonna walk her dog. She's just not going. You know, I'm sorry, right? Now, if I want to go to Spain and ride a bicycle, the Sarah will be up for that, as long as it's not in certain months that she takes off from work or whatever. You have to know your people. So you should, just like you know whether your best friend would go out drinking with you tonight, you would know whether your person would resonate with certain things. Most of us just don't know our people enough to write personally to them. And AI, unfortunately,
You language, you say
yeah,
like,
but
say
AI
you.
does that they thing, right? AI writes like it's writing to this group. So I tell people, put the personality back in it. I peeked at Molly's website, and one thing on her CRM, it was like, CRM plays well with others. Or that sounds
Yeah,
like
she's got some really cute lingo.
that's really cute lingo. That doesn't sound like a corporate page. I wouldn't go on Zoom and find it. Zoom is gonna say, here are corporate integrations. I feel like hers, it made me feel like, oh, this isn't for big multi-million-dollar corporate whitewash companies. Great. I can support a small business. I would rather support a small business. I feel like that's what's missing in most people's content. And I feel like your message really should be able to distill down to 1 or 2 sentences. If I had to tell you what Sarah's message is, that marketing doesn't have to be hard and that you actually can use search engines to your advantage to bring more qualified leads into your funnel every single day. That is what I would say that Sarah's brand's core message is. It shouldn't take 5 minutes.
No.
It shouldn't take a whole lot, right? I felt like I have 2. I feel like my sales mission is business is only worth it if it enriches your life. And I feel like on the financial side is that your business should be, or your business or your job should be increasing your net worth over time. Those are my messages. So all of my content is going to lead back towards those, like all roads end there. And I think sometimes we forget what our message is. I'll see content and I'm like, so what is your brand message? And they'll tell me, and I'm like, now what does that piece of content have to do with that brand message you just told me? And they're like, so does everything have to go to my message? Yeah,
Yes.
Really feeds back to your business should be making more money. It'd be hard pressed to find a piece of business content that didn't lead back to that. That's one. So I feel like, oh, this copy's amazing. Yeah, that's
Isn't that
yeah, I read the
fantastic?
whole page. I'm like, this is so cool. But like, that's what you want. And when you have your brand voice nailed down, and I will say this to the end of time, ChatGPT is not going to nail down your brand voice. When you have nailed down your brand voice, I think it gets easier because then you can just read something and go, would my ideal person go for this? And the answer is no, then you tweak it, right? I've written sales pages that were too formal. And now I'm like, my people probably wouldn't say that. They wouldn't resonate with that. Let me tweak it and write something else. And then I do, and it's better. And the great thing about content, you can always write more. You don't like it, delete the post. It's low risk. That's why I try not to beat people up about their content because most people don't post anything. So if you're posting anything, you're heads and tails above the average entrepreneur. So I don't want to discourage people about what they could do better in their content. But if I had to give 3 quick tips, 1, write like you're writing to one person. 2, ask yourself, how does this tie back to my brand message? And 3, is it clear and obvious where a person who isn't in your industry could understand what is going on? If you're an ops person and it only makes sense to ops people, it's too jargony or it's too high level for the average person. And I think the average person is not as advanced as people seem to think.
Yeah, that's a perfect take. I think that's good to end on. That's a great
That is good to
takeaway.
end on.
Yeah.
Is it
I'll
easy?
send this out probably not a little bit to everyone, but I'll get this sent out to everyone. And thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. See you
right.
later. Bye.